Once again, here I am, Cal Gould. We're going to be doing another interview with an individual that was involved with ball hockey over a number of years. This particular individual has quite the scope of involvement. So let's get started right now. And first, my first question is, what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Jason Cormier, originally born in Grand Cache, Alberta, just a small town not far from Hinton, Alberta. Moved to Edmonton when I was about 10 years old and been here ever since. So I've been here for about 38 years.
What are some of your early memories of playing unorganized ball hockey or street hockey? What can you tell me some of the things you remember as you were growing up?
When I was a youngster, I want to say it started probably when I was about 10 years old. I had some buddies and we were always outside. So my earliest memories are just playing street hockey in parking lots with buddies. Even if it wasn't games, we were always shooting a ball or always just having fun outside. So I think that would be my earliest memories. Would probably be. I think I was about 11 years old.
Did you play other organized sports before you became involved in ball hockey? Any kind of organized sport?
I played ice hockey growing up, so I played ice hockey for probably about 6 or 7 years. And as well, I played a little bit of soccer, summertime soccer, but after that, not too much.
How did you join the ball hockey league you first played in? Like by that, I mean, did you join with some friends? Did you get invited to join a team? Did you answer a newspaper ad? What exactly was your way that you got introduced into the league?
When I was 17 years old, I was in grade 11 and some friends were putting together a ball hockey team into the junior program and they needed a goaltender. So I had played a lot of street hockey with them as well growing up, and I used to always be the goalie if nobody wanted to be it. So when they put their team in, I was the goalie for the first year, and that kind of started my junior career playing ball hockey.
Okay, so that means everybody that you played with would have been around your age.
Correct.
Right. So with that being said, you are one of the few individuals that early on you started in the junior program and then graduated into the men's league. So let me ask you this question. When you went into the men's league, what were the age of the players that you were playing with? Were they similar age than you, or did you move into a team that was of different ages, or did you the whole team move from junior up to men's?
We did. So as I mentioned, I was 17. I was the youngster on the team. So most of on the original team were 18-year-olds. The second year I came back into the junior program, this time as a player, and all my friends had kind of graduated to the adult league, but they didn't put a team that year in. So the second year I played in the junior program, I played as a player. Then when we were all 18, we put a men's team in, again, that same group that was in the junior. So we were all 19 or 18 years old, and we put a team in the men's division. And again, then I went back to goaltender because, again, they didn't have a goalie.
So what was the name of the junior team that you played on? And then what were some of the names of the teams that you played on in the men's league? What were their names?
The first team that I played on in the junior program where I was the goaltender was the Capitals. And then the second year where I just registered with myself, I played on a team called the Radicators. And then when we joined the adult league, we kept the name the Capitals that we had started in the junior program. So I think I started in the men's program in about 1991, and that was with the Capitals.
So with the men's league, what were the names of all the teams that you've been involved in right through? Like, just give me some names here so some people that are watching might be able to recognize them.
Okay. Originally, it was the Capitals. Then I moved on to the UK Nationals for 1 year. Then it was the Edmonton Snipers for a number of years, the Edmonton Fat Boys as well, the Edmonton Rock I played with. Then it was the Penguins, and then it was the Nighthawks, and then the Savages, and then the Whalers. And right now I currently play with the Cobras.
Well, obviously you played with a lot of different players. Would you say that even though you've moved around from a lot of different teams, were there any players that you preferred to play with or that did play with you or moved with you through those teams? Or was it just yourself kind of like hopping around? How would you say that was?
I would say early on, there was definitely a few players. Greg Hamilton was one of them. Sam Donahue was another one that I played a lot with. As I got into the first division, I played with Dave and Doug Musey for a long time and Justin Kidd. Dave Musey was my line mate for quite a number of years. And even when we moved on to different teams, I tend to be with him quite a bit. Lately, I would say Al Yarwin. Actually, another one that I played with quite a bit was Doug McCarthy, who I really enjoyed playing with him. Just a class individual. But Al Yarwin, Bob Beretta was another one that I played a lot with in my time. But, as time kind of went on, a lot of them retired. So the one that I'm still with to this day is Al Yarwin.
Now, looking back at the other organized sports that you played, what was your impression of the ball hockey organizations that you were involved with? How would you compare them with the other organized sports that you played in non-ball hockey sports?
I think that the big thing that I noticed that was different with the ball hockey, I mean, some of the other ones I didn't have as much exposure to, like the association and who was running things. But one thing I did notice in ball hockey Edmonton was the dedication that some individuals showed. And when I say individuals, I mean Steve Posovic, I mean Jeff Romaine, guys who had been there for a long, long time and really loved the sport. Craig Thiessen was another one who was actively involved in a lot. And, more recently, Gabe Nader is another one who, you just notice that the passion that they had for the game in the fact that they volunteered for so long.
Were you involved in the sport in any other ways, such as a referee, a coach, manager, executive, anything like that?
I was. So I was a referee for probably, I want to say about 5 years. So as I started to play more, I started to get into refereeing so that I could pay for some of the trips that I was going on. So that was the reason for it. But I always meant to get back into refereeing when I got older, but some other things kind of cropped in and just kind of took me away from it. But I did enjoy it.
Earlier, you mentioned that you played in Division One ball hockey, which would be classified in most cases as Tier 1 or Men's A division. There's a lot of different terminologies that are used at different levels. But can you tell me how long or you played at that high level, and did you participate in provincial, regional, or national tournaments?
So I started in the Tier 1 in ball hockey Edmonton in about 1995, I want to say. And I stayed there until about 2015. So I spent about 20 years in the first division. And I went to quite a number of provincial and national tournaments as well. And, in my later years, I've attended a few Worlds tournaments as well.
Do you have any favorite memories of playing ball hockey, whether let's look at two different ways. Do you have a favorite memory as a personal level or one that is a favorite memory on a team level?
I think when I look back, when I was younger, I used to always look at individual things. But as I've gotten older, I tend to appreciate the championship. So if you asked me, I would say the first provincial championship is very special. The first national championship is very special. And the first world championship was very special.
There's another level that some may not understand the terminology, known as masters. So just to let everyone know that's watching, masters is specifically for individuals that are above a certain age, not a certain caliber of the sport. So tell me, were you involved in masters in any level, like as a player or any other way?
I was. I've been a part of Masters Team Canada. So Masters is 40 and over. They do give an exemption for 3 or 4 people that are between the ages of 36 and 39, but the remainder of the players are 40 and over. I've made Masters Team Canada from 2014 every second year to 2022.
That's a great, wow, that's quite the career that you've had so far. So my next question is this. Are you still involved in ball hockey? And if so, how long do you expect to still see yourself being involved?
I do. I still play and I still coach. I plan to play ball hockey as long as my body will allow me. So far, I've been blessed. I really haven't had too many serious injuries, knock on wood. Like I say, I've been playing for 32 years, and I plan to play as long as I can.
Do you have any other family members that played the sport of ball hockey?
My son does. So my son has played it since he was 7 years old, and he's currently 18 now. So he's played it every year since he was 7, and he loves it as much as I did when I was younger.
That's great to hear. It's great when we have siblings and or children that play the sport. There have been, just for your own information, there have been father and son combinations playing ball hockey actually going all the way back to the 80s. That I know of just in Edmonton, but from my understanding, it's occurred in other ones. But to say if somebody played a high level tier 1 with a son or a daughter, I don't think that has occurred yet. I don't think has occurred yet. What advice would you give to someone that wants to play the sport of ball hockey?
I would tell them work hard. Ball hockey is very different than some other sports. I always tend to compare it to ice hockey. Ice hockey is a little easier because you have that coasting ability and, you're working on skates. I'm not saying that you're not working hard in ice hockey, but ball hockey is so much different that it literally, everything depends on your work ethic and how much you can run. So I would give anybody the recommendation that, if you love it, play it as much as you possibly can, work at your craft, and it's amazing what you can accomplish when you believe.
Is there a person, if they were here right now, that you would want to thank for getting you involved in ball hockey at any level?
I don't know if it's an individual person. I think I would probably say the group that started the team originally. Like I always loved playing street hockey. I loved, playing ice hockey. But I never really heard about a league of ball hockey. So I know our friends, the collection of friends that I went to school with, they brought it to me. So if I had to say, I would say that group, but I don't know if there was one individual person.
What do you see or hope to see for the future of ball hockey?
I hope to see growth. It's a wonderful sport. People that play it normally play it for a lot of years, but what it really needs is it needs the growth to the next level. So there's some very, very big leagues that are in Ontario and very big leagues that are in Edmonton, but we're having a hard time growing in the smaller areas and getting more growth in the game. And I know there's been some pushes over the years to try to get it to the Olympic level, which I think would be absolutely phenomenal. But I think the game needs a little more growth and a little more exposure so it can grow to be even bigger.
Okay, so then referring to that, you said into the smaller population areas. And when we look at the international level of ball hockey, it's in quite a few countries that a lot of people don't look at as being a country that would have a sport like ball hockey because there's no ice hockey being played. And what I mean by that is something like Greece or Bermuda or Pakistan, things like that. What we have discovered is that people that play soccer, but also like the sport of hockey, they enjoy ball hockey because of the running aspect and they don't need to have the skill to skate. Would you say that maybe the growth in other countries, like a non-northern climate, would that be an opportunity for growth that you would prefer to see?
It would be, and yes, I would. What I will say is that a lot of times what I see in a lot of these international tournaments are you'll have a team from Greece, but really it's a team from Canada with Greece background. So when I say growth in the game, I mean growth actually in Greece, growth actually in these other markets, rather than just having Canadian players who have a background, of Greece, which, I mean, it's great to have different players in different countries represented, but it would be nice if it was like the Slovakias of the world or the Czech Republic, who actually pull from their own country to come to these tournaments.
That's excellent insight. That's exactly what has occurred over the years. I guess we can call it expats that are in those countries that bring or introduce the sport to that group. But I think you're right. Maybe there's by those Canadians or those that are from a northern climate that transplant into another country and introduce the sport, it has a chance to grow or blossom in those smaller population areas. Now, have you ever been involved with any part of the sport co-ed wise? I mean, involved where you played, coached, or had anything to do in the sport, or girls?
I have not. Every team I've coached has been either kids, but all males, and the adult teams that I've coached as well, all males.
What have you witnessed in the nationals and internationals of women's hockey? I'm sure women's ball hockey. I'm sure you would have seen it played at those tournaments.
I have, and what I will say about the women's program, it is amazing how much they've grown and how better they've gotten. Not to discredit some of the older teams, but from what the women's league has come from, as it was 10 years ago, even to what it is today. When you watch them today, they are some very, very good players. That it's really grown, and I think you see that same growth in the ice hockey world. You know, what the girls were 10 years ago and what they are today is really night and day. And they've really, there's a lot more popularity in terms of the women's game, the number of teams. You know, when I first was refereeing and playing, you know, there may be 3 women's teams. Well, now all of a sudden they have, 15 women's teams. So that part of it has been really good. And the growth of their game has been really good.
All right, no more questions, but I'd like to, if you want to add anything, or if there's any question or any questions you have for me, and we can just go into a general discussion.
I don't think there's anything off the top of my head, but if something pops up, I'll let you know.
What do you consider the history of ball hockey in Edmonton? What is your perception of what the history of ball hockey is? Like, where do you think it started, and where do you think it, like, how do you think it became to the point that it is now? What is your perception?
When I first heard about, I mean, again, I didn't start playing and didn't start hearing about a lot of the history until later in time, because I was playing in 1990. But over many drinks with Malcolm Stinson and Doug McCarthy, I heard an awful lot about ball hockey in the 70s and where it started. And, it started outside. I think he said it was downtown Edmonton, and it was just an outside league. To look at what the game is today, I mean, in Edmonton now, there's dedicated soccer centers that house ball hockey year round. The growth in terms of the national tournaments, the growth in terms of the world tournaments. But when you look at Edmonton specifically, I think, in learning a lot about the history, one of the biggest things that Edmonton needed to do was they needed to win the Nationals. So until we got to that point, I really don't know if we were really recognized on a national stage, at least, Edmonton or even Alberta as a whole. But we've started to really see an increase in the number of ice hockey players that want to play ball hockey. And as well, once the Savages, the team from Edmonton that finally won nationals, once they did that, it really propped up our game. And like I say before, we have some really dedicated people who really put a lot of time in to try to make this league bigger and better. And I'm happy to say that, I think that the Edmonton League is very strong right now. There's a lot of teams. Personally, I would like it if there were some higher teams. I think that a lot of teams like to just kind of stay in the middle divisions rather than pushing themselves to higher divisions. But that being said, very happy with the enrollment figures that we have in Edmonton specifically. And I think it's great, everything that's gone on with Edmonton ball hockey.
Jason, thank you for your time. You've given us a great insight into your wonderful career, and keep up the good work. We hope to see more accomplishments coming from your direction. Take care. We'll see you again.
You bet. Thank you very much.